On the internet, there is a culture war. I'm gonna close that cupboard, it's distracting me. In which two sides, two tribes, are battling it out in the stupidest thing that's ever been described as a war, but apparently is a big deal. This war is between the social justice warriors and the anti-social justice warriors. What is a social justice warrior? A social justice warrior, according to Know Your Meme, is a pejorative label applied to bloggers, activists, and commenters who are prone to engage in lengthy and hostile debates against others. Wow, that doesn't sound like everybody on the internet at all. On a range of issues concerning social injustice. Ah, there's the rub. Identity politics and political correctness. So where did this phrase come from? Now, according to Wikipedia, Abby Olheiser wrote in the Washington Post that social justice warrior of variations thereof had been used as a laudatory phrase in the past and provided an example dating to 1991. She quoted Catherine Martin, the head of US dictionaries at Oxford University Press, who said, "All of the examples I've seen until quite recently are lionizing the person." According to the Washington Post, use of the phrase in a positive manner continued from the 1990s through to the 2000s. Catherine Martin says that the term switched from primarily positive to overwhelmingly negative around 2011, where it was first used as an insult on Twitter. Now, I assume this came from keyboard warrior. You're a keyboard warrior, that's kind of like a negative thing. You're a social justice warrior. Oh, you're always fighting for social justice. Bad. You're a terrible man. Yeah, gotcha. And it started to gain steam as something negative on the internet to describe people who are pro-social justice and pro-feminism and these kinds of things and, you know, crazy leftists and whatever.
Let's take the high road. Let's be compassionate. Let's be kind. Hug a social justice warrior today. Actually, fuck that. Let's just keep triggering the little shits. It's hilarious!
And based on my own personal experience of this phrase, it's basically something people use to dismiss you. They don't have to listen to your point of view. If you say anything vaguely pro-feminism, or you say something in defense of a feminist, or you say, hey, you know, maybe we shouldn't be so racist. Hey, maybe we shouldn't be so fucking misogynist. Hey, maybe we should care about this issue. They just say, you fucking triggered SJW, blah, 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 SJW, yeah. And out of this formed this community of people called the anti-SJWs, who also often refer to themselves as skeptics, or at least there is a big overlap between skeptics and anti-SJWs, people who base their entire existence around fighting these people who they already gave a pejorative label to, and now they're just fighting that pejorative label that they've already put on those people so they didn't have to listen to them in the first place. And these people think that they're open-minded, and they think that they're skeptics, but they're actually fighting this fucking phantom that they've invented in their head. Now, do douchey feminists exist? Yes. I mean, do douchey anti-SJWs exist? Yeah, but what do we call them? SJW anti-SJWs? Because it's just a pejorative label. It doesn't mean shit except I don't like that person, I don't like your views, you're bad, you're against my tribe, you're against my group, you're a social justice warrior. And then they turn around and say, but the social justice warriors are the ones that call us racist, and call us misogynistic, and call us so forth and etc. And that's actually the key issue. They don't like the fact that social justice warriors, or people for social justice, that they never fucking listened to in the first place, call them racist, and call them misogynist, and call them out. They don't like that. Because they're not true skeptics who can actually take those ideas and be like, is this true? Is this false? No, I'm actually not racist. I'm not a misogynist. I'm not. This is bullshit. This is nonsense. And refute it. They have to say, social justice warrior, cooties, social justice warrior, you're a band, you're a band. And that's what their entire community is based on. It's just like, we are gonna fight against this phantom, this boogeyman, this thing that we have created, which is like this hybrid Hydra monster, which has apparently got its tentacles in all parts of society, and is the biggest threat, the absolute biggest threat, next to those brown Muslims. Because they've lost all sense of proportionality when it comes to these debates. As I said, the anti-social justice community defines itself by what it is against, not what it's for. It's against people like me. People who see cops killing a fuckload of African Americans and think, you know what, there could be some systemic racism. People who see women being paid less, and to not get into all of the minutiae of that topic, think that looks like something that is an issue and should be addressed. Social justice warrior. Somebody says, you know, white supremacy seems like quite a big problem too. Besides these Islamic terrorists, which is not something I have an issue saying, Islamic terrorism, whatever, I don't give a shit. Well, these white supremacists are also a huge problem, and Trump getting into power with support from the alt-right, who are a bunch of massive racists who want a white ethno-state, that's an issue. Social justice warrior. And people who talk about things like the patriarchy more often than I do, because I think the patriarchy is a valid, curious, interesting concept, which I'm willing to think about. Social justice warrior. But other people, they talk about it more concretely as being something more powerfully impacting society. Social justice warrior. That is the entire point of these people, just to shit on ideas that they're not willing to think about themselves, that they're not willing to actually walk through and debunk by just saying social justice warrior and making ownage videos where they try to destroy the individual that they're talking about and strawman the fuck out of them. They don't really consider what the person is saying, they don't particularly analyze it, they just try to ruin them. That's what that entire fucking community is based around. Now, why am I talking about this today? Because a YouTuber called Kraut and Tea, who I've had some interaction with in the past, he made a video called Why I Hate the Social Justice Community, which was a propaganda video intended to just lump everybody who he's already deemed as a social justice warrior, and basically said all of their crimes are collective. Everything that they have done is on all of the members of the social justice warrior community. All of these SJWs who are bad, they're bad. I hate these SJWs, evil people, evil scum. All of them are responsible for just whatever anybody who's an SJW has done. And I knew Kraut was going to come out with this video, and I knew it would be shit, but I had no idea it would be that shit. It was like the most inept video I've seen in my life. It was so poorly argued, there was no logic, there was no reason to it. It was literally just a hate boner because people in the SJW community have called him a racist and his feelings are hurt.
You might remember that in the first social justice video attacking me, the one by Sean and Jen, he calls me a racist.
Oh, there it is.
And his feelings are hurt so bad that he's just like, all of these random people who have absolutely nothing to do with any of the crap that I'm talking about are guilty because they're SJWs. And the anti-SJW community, they just said, yes, Kraut, appeal to our confirmation bias. Cram all of this random guilt by association information into our minds so that we can believe that all of these people whose views we disagree with are evil, and then we'll call ourselves skeptics. The other thing that struck me about it was how absolutely, utterly hypocritical the whole fucking video was. Because the anti-social justice community has done everything that he's talked about in that video, and worse, and Kraut has been personally involved in it himself, and I'm going to talk about that. I think it would be useful to see, what is it that makes the anti-social justice community so fucking smart, and so logical, and so skeptical? Why don't we delve into these wonderful values and ideas of these people who are so good at calling each other out? They've got such diversity of thought, and they've got such intelligence. Why don't we have a little dig into this pure, wonderful panacea, which is called the anti-social justice warrior community? A community which is based on totally fighting a real thing, which is really important, and was the deciding factor in the election in America recently, and is the deciding factor in all world events. Social justice warriors.
This is a place in which your wrongdoings will be called out, and even though we consider ourselves colleagues or even friends, or some of us don't even consider themselves friends or colleagues at all, we have no problem with calling out the wrongdoings of others within this community. And this, in my humble opinion, is what separates this big group of people that some may or may not call a community from that other social justice YouTube community.
Kraut says the social justice community allows bad tactics and never calls anybody else for it, but that's patently untrue. For starters, Jenny McDermott, who is a well-known TERF and all-around toxic individual, was basically expelled or expunged from the social justice community online for saying that Armored Skeptic raped his girlfriend Shoe-on-Head. Some of the pushback I've seen on that is that it took too long for Jenny McDermott to get kicked out of the YouTube social justice community, and that's a fair point. I think it did, actually, but I think everyone wanted to try to give her a chance. And when she made a video making fun of Thunderfoot's dad's death, I don't think people were really celebrating that or too happy about it. She should have been ostracized from the community at that point, I totally agree. But I think people in that community want to give each other a chance, and they want to believe the best in each other. And you have to say, it's gone too far, no, and that's what happened with Jenny. It is not true that there are no consequences for the way people behave. In the video, you also talk about Kevin Logan laughing about Thunderfoot's dad's death. That is true, but he also made an apology for it. And there'll be a bit more about apologies for bad behavior slightly later in the video. As for whether we criticize each other, yeah, we do all the time. The thing is, when we criticize each other, we don't do it in an immature, douchey way where we're trying to own each other. We respectfully disagree and we discuss our differences. For example, here is a stream with me and Christy Winters talking about what we disagree about to do with Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders. We had some conflict in the past about this issue, but it didn't just turn into a shit-flinging contest because we're mature people. And that's not the kind of thing that we do. I disagree with Garrett about liberalism versus anarchism. He's an anarcho-syndicalist, and I'm just a dirty, lily-livered liberal, and we disagree a lot about democracy and capitalism and how those things look. Me and Captain Andy don't see eye to eye on those issues.
I, Lacey Green, am the very pinnacle of a social justice warrior.
Well, I'd say you're the very pinnacle of a fucking liberal myself.
Me and Tom Avello don't see eye to eye on those issues.
When I'm asked about my political beliefs, I usually say that I'm a social anarchist or an anarcho-syndicalist with some level of sympathy for anarcho-pacifism.
And I've gotten into all kinds of arguments and discussions and debates with feminists on my time on YouTube. That's just a fact. I mean, I'm aware of my own experience. So what you're saying is just bullshit. It's just that we don't openly slag each other off in the way that you would like us to, because anti-social justice warrior whatevers, they want to see my community and people I know completely destroyed. And one way they would like to see that would just be shit-flinging and all of us trying to ruin each other, and that's not going to happen because we are mature individuals who can actually have discussions about things. So I would say Kraut's opinion on social justice warriors disagreeing with each other is just because he's in his little bubble. He doesn't see the kind of conversations that we have. If there's one group of people who tend to disagree with each other more often than anyone I've ever seen, it's feminists. And it's just Kraut doesn't have that experience. He doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about.
There are bad tactics, there is unethical behavior, and your convictions and beliefs do not justify breaching certain ethical standards, no matter how convinced you may be that you are right. It is in some way a golden rule of this community. Voice your disagreements, argue, heck, even go fling around some insults if you can't resist, but do not psychotically intimidate others or you will be called out on that behavior, and this community has repeatedly done so, and it will continue to do so. And Creationist Cat seems to be some sort of delusional fool who enjoys nitpicking through people's content and then resorting to, but I'm just a comedian, a comedic cat, whenever he gets called out.
Did you guys catch that Ariana Grande concert yesterday? I heard she really bombed. But then again, some people disagree. They say her performance was explosive. Really tore down the house. Told that joke on Twitter. A lot of people got pretty upset with me. They asked me, TJ, what goes through your head when you make jokes like that? What goes through my head? Well, shrapnel. Oh, no, wait, I'm thinking of the victims.
And so I know where you're going. You're going to say, well, what was the fucking point? The point that was to be funny. The point of that was that made a lot of people laugh, and my channel is not some activist. I'm not a fucking crusader for truth and justice. I'm a bit of a funny cunt who makes people laugh. I like doing it. I might have been a bit of a smarmy cunt in it, but I've got every right to be a smarmy cunt.
Nitpicking through people's content and then resorting to, but I'm just a comedian, a comedic cat.
Look, I just want to talk to Kraut about it and find out what he thinks about Muslims, because I don't have enough information. I don't really actually know what he thinks about people who are Muslims. I just know that, like, sometimes on Twitter, it seems like you go off on these kind of like intense rants, and I don't know what it is. If you're angry, you're trying to troll that person, or if you actually believe the stuff you're saying.
It's a mix of both. I enjoyed flaming on Twitter. I thought of it as getting banned anyway in the near future. So if you're the captain of a sinking ship, you might as well set it on fire as you go down with it.
But right. So
We don't purposefully misinterpret or lie about someone's statements and opinions for the purpose of pushing a narrative.
So I was involved in a drama a while ago when the anti-SJW community tried to say that Christy Winters, who is a prominent YouTube feminist, was a doxing mastermind against a prominent anti-feminist YouTuber called Art Thief. I had said in a video that Christy Winters and some other people, whatever, it's kind of ancient history now, it's a bit bored by it, shared with each other in private some information that they had found about Bering that was already out there on the internet, i.e. other people had already put it out there on the internet. It was on a website called Encyclopedia Dramatica, and we're basically saying to each other in this private group, oh, look at this information which is out there about Bering. Isn't that interesting that this is already out there? And then they deleted those messages. And if you go back and watch my video about this originally, that's all I was saying. That is literally what I say in the video. People say to me, you're backtracking. You said she did this, this, and this. No, go back and watch the original video. I stand by everything I said in that video. Because I was foolish enough to criticize my own side about something they were doing, this was turned into a hysterical witch hunt in which Bering said that Christy was some doxing mastermind who's basically this genius who was coordinating with the website Encyclopedia Dramatica to get all of his private information. She coordinated with them. It was like this real fucking massive deal of her trying to dox him, and it was all literally just made up. It was all just invented from whole cloth from what I said. Fabricated. It had no basis in anything that I had said, which I still stand by. I never said she coordinated with anybody. I never said she was some doxing mastermind.
We don't purposefully misinterpret or lie about someone's statements and opinions for the purpose of pushing a narrative.
So we can see it's a very fair and it's very logical and it's very skeptical community where they literally just make shit up. I don't know what to conclude about that except that Bering fucking lied about me, lied about my videos, lied about my views, so he could win his personal vendetta against Christy Winters. And if he wants to use me in the process, no big deal. Ethics. Who cares about that? Also, apparently, and I don't know if this is true because it's kind of hearsay, Christy linked to the Encyclopedia Dramatica page where it had Bering's actual name and the information that the people on Encyclopedia Dramatica had found from Bering's music channel where he has his own fucking name up there, and having nothing to do with Christy. She posted a link to that in a few YouTube comments to say to those people, like, look, didn't have anything to do with me, but here's the webpage. I still criticize that. It was the wrong thing to do. To me, that is publicizing or spreading a dox. It doesn't make her the doxing mastermind. It doesn't mean she came up with the whole deal. She was coordinating with people and all the shit that Bering just made up. It's got nothing to do with that. But if that was what happened, that was wrong. But she deleted those comments on YouTube, and I give her credit for that, because I guess she recognized that it was a bad look, and you shouldn't be publicizing the dox. You shouldn't be saying to people like, his information's already out there. Look, this is where it is. That's the wrong thing to do, and I criticize that. But I think Christy deleted it, so she must have had some inkling that it was the wrong thing to do. So I also, in good faith, think Christy may have made an error, not connected it to a video, and it was absolutely wrong for her to do that. But I also don't think that proves she's a
The doxer or a doxer.
No, by itself it doesn't. By itself it doesn't. It the doxer man, which is an absolute cunt act. An absolute cunt act. But no, that doesn't prove what I'm accusing her of, not by itself.
Well, I don't know about contact, but I agree it was wrong. So there you go.
Okay.
So this outrage over Christy Winters being this doxing mastermind genius, and oh my god, even if she didn't coordinate with Encyclopedia Dramatica, she still put that information out there, and she was still spreading it around, and she was still publicizing it. I'm so angry about this. This is such an affront. We leap forward to current events, where an anti-social justice, anti-feminist guy called V, who has 60,000 subscribers and is a weird little cross between Shrek and a Hobbit, decided to tell all of his followers about the country of origin of the girlfriend of a different YouTuber who he doesn't like.
Which is an absolute cunt act.
Now this information may have already been out there. Exactly like Bering's name was already out there, because he had put it on his fucking music channel. Where was this information about the girlfriend of this YouTuber? I don't know, because I'd have no interest in looking it up or finding out about it. But now I know about it, because V decided to tell all of his followers where this girl lives.
You do realize that you're playing with this woman's life, right? Like you do realize that you're in the spotlight, and you're going out of your way to piss off YouTubers that have tens of thousands of people as subscribers. And not only that, but you constantly yap your mouth to your friends. How the fuck do you know, how the fuck do you think that I knew she's from?
Which is an absolute cunt act.
Why? Some shit about a charity and I don't know, like she was running a charity and is gonna get the money back to someone? Who cares? That's concern trolling. He has no reason to care about her country of origin, except that he doesn't like the YouTuber who he's talking about. Oh, I don't like that person? That person hurt my feelings? Well, I'm gonna go after his girlfriend, and I'm gonna tell all of my subscribers about where she lives. That is publicizing a dox. I don't know if V scrounged up this information originally and found out where she lives to put it out there, but he publicized it to his 60,000 subscribers.
An absolute cunt act.
An extra detail to this is that she is an ex-Muslim who is trying to get out of that country, and she fears for her life having people know about where she is on the basis of being an ex-Muslim. So unlike Bering, whose stupid name nobody gives a fuck about, and it has actually no impact on his life except for him to get butthurt and cry about it because it's important to his fucking ego. This girl actually felt threatened by this. Like, actually felt threatened, not just crocodile tears so that she could try to wreck someone she doesn't like. This V guy is such a scum-sucking sewer rat. He hired a private investigator just to dig into her private life because he's that much of a scumbag.
As you guys know, I have hired a investigator. And I have more of her docs, by the way. But lucky for you, I'm an actual... sorry, I'm not a decent human being. And I didn't post her docs. Just in case. You fucking imbecile. Instead of keeping your head down and making sure you don't drag attention, you go around on the Twitter hanging around with people that are quite annoying, to say the least, that do drag attention. You're doing your best to piss off people that are YouTubers and the alt-right, so you're trying to make as many enemies as possible. Don't you think that it's a good thing that I looked into this shit? Because at least I don't have the basic human decency to go around and tell the people what I found. Imagine if I was someone else. Imagine if I was someone just motivated by making money. Hmm?
The doxer man, which is an absolute cunt act. An absolute cunt act.
Did Christy Winters hire an investigator to scrounge around Bering's private life? Just because she doesn't like him and she wants to fuck with him? You know, she could have come up with any excuse. Let's find out about how Bering stole that artwork. Better get a private investigator to investigate this. Do you think that would go down well? Do you think people would be like, Christy Winters is not so bad? No, they would go nuclear. How did Bering react to this absolute toad doing this to this ex-Muslim girl?
V did a tweet a few weeks ago or something about some chick who was sent back, and he said sent back to, and then everyone's like, and then Tyler and a bunch of people are like, you just doxed her. And then on Bearing stream,
yeah. It's apparently a very specific location now, like a resident.
Yeah, pretty much. And then on Bearing stream, we just brought it up, and then Tyler's like, I'm so disappointed in Bearing, who got V to dox again. Bearing, like, why are you letting people on your big platform dox other people?
Tyler, an absolute contact. Before we ramble off, can I just say on point, Tyler, suck my dick, buddy. Suck my fucking dick. You go fuck yourself.
Utter and total indifference. Doesn't care at all. Doesn't give a shit. That's because he does not care about doxing. He only cares about things that impact him personally. If something happens to him personally, oh my god, that's so bad. And especially if he can use it to gain points against those evil social justice warriors who Kraut tells us are the most corrupt and evil people on the planet, and who are collectively guilty for anything the other ones do. No, according to Bearing, publicizing an ex-Muslim's dox, grow up, motherfucker. Why don't you grow the fuck up about people knowing your fucking name, you coward? It's because you're a liar. You don't care about doxing. It's all so you can score personal points because you only care about shit that affects you. You don't care about anything happening to anybody else, even if it threatens their life, particularly if you don't like that person. Or maybe you care about something because it impacts somebody you like. This is called strategic outrage. I'm so offended because you doxed someone I like. That is so bad. And also, I will make up a whole lot of things about this dox to make it sound way worse than it actually was, which was more like publicizing a dox. Oh my god, something mild happened to someone I like. This is an outrage. Oh my god, I hate doxing. Something happened to me. Time to go nuclear. You're a disingenuous, lying cunt that does not have any real principles. And you and your fans talking to me about how much you care about doxing, go look at this video again. And shut the fuck up. And Kraut, you're a fucking hypocrite for praising this community. In the meantime, there was a YouTuber called AIU who loved doxing.
When we first came together during when we decided to call out AIU and his fans for doxing, we decided that on the basis of a common ethical standard we all agreed upon.
I think it's time to surprise some people and let the world know who they are. It's time for me to doc drop people. Fuck them.
Yeah, definitely. And it's not illegal at all. There's nothing wrong with, if the information's there, you can Google it all you fucking like.
Yeah, love it. The second you cross me, the second you have an ill word, the second you hit the dislike button, I will find your name with my new MIT Harvard hacking genius friend. And I will reveal it to the world, your name.
And there was another YouTuber called Oozaloo who apparently didn't like doxing. Because AIU, who did doxing, wasn't nice to him, so therefore doxing is wrong and doxing is bad. And Oozaloo would spend all his time complaining about how terrible doxing is. Oozaloo is an anti-social justice warrior, and that means that all other anti-justice warriors can be held accountable for his point of view, according to the logic of Kraut, who is a skeptical genius. So let's take a look at how Oozaloo has evolved on the issue of doxing. Oozaloo himself created this wonderful, beautiful little timescale of Oozaloo's handling of cases of alleged doxing. AIU incidents, January 2016. I did believe he was doxing, and I did morally condemn it. Well, gee, that's just wonderful, Mr. Oozaloo. Let's see how you progressed on your timescale. Suddenly, in February 2017, over a year later, I realized my definition of dox was fundamentally flawed. That just happened to coincide with when Sargon of Akkad doxed the fuck out of a girl wearing a shirt that he didn't like, so he decided to take a photo of her and post it to all of his followers with the location of her work. So he basically said, look at this person. I don't like them, you shouldn't like them, and this is where they work. And Oozaloo in his infinite wisdom decided this was not a dox, which is something that I already debunked in a previous video. Now how did Oozaloo decide that this was not doxing all of a sudden? AIU who had said, I will find out your name. And my God, finding out somebody's name, that is super doxing. But taking a photo of somebody's face and telling thousands of people where she works so that they could potentially go there and fuck up her life, that's not doxing. How did Oozaloo decide these new moral standards? Could it be that he's a spineless toad who never actually had any principles and should probably fucking apologize to AIU? I can't believe I'm saying that. He never cared about it. He never gave a fuck about it. He only cared about it because you did it. Because AIU did doxing. Oozaloo cared about it. And that is why I have no respect for this individual and why he's just pathetic. He's a weak, pathetic person. And now, oh, he decided to stop virtue signaling around May to April 2017. Decided to stop moralizing or morally condemning. Well, that's fantastic, but again, you owe an apology to AIU for wasting years of his life with this shit. And finally, we get to the wonderful transformation of Oozaloo into a true skeptic. Somebody who really represents this anti-social justice community that Kraut and Tea so fucking applauds and so loves and is so high and mighty, and for whom none of the other members are guilty of the actions of other members. Let's see the glorious evolution of Oozaloo. V incident. Did believe it was doxing, though minor, because I still have to suck V's dick. Didn't morally condemn. Oozaloo thought this was a good idea to put on the internet. Oh, so you're accusing me of things? I'll show you a timeline of how I lost all my principles and just became a pure bottom-feeding suck-up for these larger YouTubers. Now I have no particular values. Owned! So Oozaloo, he's pro-doxing. If people he likes do it, he doesn't care about it at all. And it's even gotten to the point where he recognizes that people do it and he doesn't care anymore. And I can only assume that that's Kraut's position too. Although Sargon did dox that girl, there was absolutely doxing. He did apologize. The apology wasn't perfect, but he didn't have to do that. So, Sargon, I give you a little bit of credit for apologizing for that. People make mistakes, and I don't think that it was on purpose, which is apparently how Oozaloo now decides what doxing is, not literally what doxing is. He said because it wasn't malicious, it wasn't doxing. Made that up. That was just invented. Just... And everyone was supposed to be like, that's fantastic, Oozaloo. Good job. Slight credit to Sargon. Let's move ahead, shall we?
For example, when Thunderfoot's father died of cancer, he was flooded by a barrage of videos by the likes of Jenny McDermott and Kevin Logan and others, laughing at Thunderfoot's dying dad or mocking Thunderfoot over his dad's cancer death. And when I reminded their little community over these actions and how they had refused to condemn them, their response to it ranged from asserting that this course of action wasn't really bad at all to just outright proclaiming that this behavior was really funny, apparently.
A few moments later.
Well, a feminist got triggered.
Yeah? For the final time. For the last time.
Not too soon, Kraut. As I said before, like, too soon is literally 5 seconds before it happens. That's when it's too soon.
Okay, so I actually don't think we should be enjoying this, because I mean, like,
I'm not enjoying this.
The woman got killed, and he wasn't really part of any group that I care about. So
right now that we got the moral fagging out of the way, let's actually do this.
This behavior was really funny, apparently.
Jesus Christ, that sounds really fucking horrible.
Well, now you ruined the fun of it, Rosalvo. Couldn't you hold this till the end?
Okay, so he got triggered.
I bet you ruined the fun of it.
Get triggered, yeah.
This behavior was really funny, apparently.
You know why I love the internet? We get to look at this through a lens of a little bit of humor. Because if you were to be confronted with something like that, you wouldn't be in the position to make even a small fucking joke.
Through the lens of humor while the bodies are still warm.
This behavior was really funny, apparently.
In Soviet Russia, feminist shoots woman.
That's funny because it's Russian.
This behavior was really funny, apparently.
Please tell me you're monetizing this and that you're making shekels from this.
Of course I am.
Really funny, apparently.
where deputies called out on reports of several gunshots found the woman dead outside of her home. Kolpakov was taken into custody. The slain woman's name has not been released. Mesa County Sheriff's Office spokesman Henry Stoffel said over the weekend that an investigation is ongoing, but the department is not looking for any other suspects. Fuck.
I ask people to press 1 if they think it's not too soon to make the skeptic feminist murder memes. And I have to say, the ones have it.
And damn, this came hard on the heels of Kraut and Tea's video where he berated social justice warriors, and quite rightly so, for making fun of my dad when he was dying of cancer.
Spinosauruskin, Creationist Cat and Co. can explain to us why they believe these people are still somehow worth engaging with, let alone siding with.
And yet here he is, laughing away with the rest of them because a jerk got high and shot and killed a woman.
In Soviet Russia, feminist shoots woman.
That's funny because I think at the very least we probably won't see many more videos from his channel.
Christ.
Like you said earlier, people expect a higher level of ethics in this community.
Bullshit.
This is just a funny little side one. When I was browsing around researching for this video, finding things that anti-social justice warriors were hypocrites on, some of the examples I came across were so randomly small and coincidental that it was just amusing that even at this small level, they're being hypocritical. So a while back, there was this exchange between Micaiah B and Bering. Micaiah B is like a feminist YouTuber. They were in a fight about something and he said, on a complete side note, it looks like you're going pedo bear on that dolly. This was a reference to Bering's profile picture, which has a picture of a bear kind of like holding a tiny doll. I knew that Micaiah B meant the profile picture, like the profile picture looks like it's going pedo bear on the dolly. They argued a bit more and then Bering decided to get offended by that and said, "That's not stupidity, you suggest I'm a pedo. All good, I misgender you. Clutch his pearls. Wake up, you dumb broad." Micaiah B is a trans man, so he was saying like, you called me a pedo, so I'm gonna misgender you. Because I'm a fucking douchebag. But it was obvious to everybody involved this was strategic outrage. Everyone knew Micaiah B was talking about your kind of disturbing profile picture, but you decided to be extra sensitive and take offense just because you wanted to score points and play the victim. This was just a silly little exchange until one day V decided to call someone a pedo bear on his stream for having a funny profile picture.
What the fuck happened to you, V? Asks the pedo bear. I know you don't like Spino, but why are you putting people—
You suggest I'm a pedo. For some reason, people seem to call each other pedo bears a lot. But anyways, an anti-social justice YouTuber called CharmingMan93 saw this and thought it was fucking hilarious that this person got called a pedo bear. Ah shit, V. You called Furious Foss a pedo bear. Prepared for outrage of people complaining about you calling a victim of pedophilia a pedophile. You suggest I'm a pedo. So here, CharmingMan93 acknowledges that the person V called a pedo bear was himself a victim of pedophilia, and CharmingMan93 just says, that's hilarious. So funny. Calling Furious Foss a pedo bear was the cherry on top of the icing after you roasted Spino, MGTOW in the streets, cuck in the sheets. And if we apply Kraut's logic, ipso facto reductio, we are all guilty and all responsible for Micaiah B calling Bering a pedo bear, and that was obviously implying he's a pedo. But V, who's an anti-SJW, he called Furious Fosser
the pedo bear,
which means he's called him a pedo, which means Bering, you called Furious Fosser a pedo bear and implied he was a pedophile. You must apologize. By the way, I'm sorry on behalf of Micaiah B. Where's your apology? I could continue on and on and on with this video, because there's so many examples of hypocrisy by the anti-social justice warrior people, but instead I'll just do one more example, then wrap it up. People often get angry about Steve Shives, who's a feminist who blocks people. He's very open about his disdain for anti-social justice people, and he said that he would prefer to befriend somebody who could delete all of their channels rather than befriend them, which though is something I don't agree with. I found it kind of amusing just because it tweaks people so much, but I don't think that's a good thing. Now, people always complain about Steve's blocking. They say, blocked by Steve, blocked by Steve, blocked by Steve. And people make video after video complaining about Steve Shives blocking them and how terrible that is.
And we're blocked by Steve Shives.
But here we have Sargon Vakard, one of the big leading lights of the anti-social justice warriors. He says, "It's amusing that Christy Winters unblocks me when she thinks she has the upper hand, then blocks me when she starts losing." Which is amusing, because I'm blocked by Sargon Vakard. And he's fine with blocking people if they get under his skin or if he gets annoyed. But the moment that Christy Winters does it, oh, that meant she was losing. Well, Sargon, were you losing when you blocked me? And apparently blocking is for losers, according to anti-social justice people. My friend Olive posted that it was funny that Sargon said, Christy Winters blocked me when she started losing, but Olive is blocked by Sargon as well. And then Oozaloo, again, in his infinite wisdom, said, how do these contradict? Well, use your skeptical brain and think for 1 second. If Sargon says blocking someone means you lose, what? What would that be saying about when Sargon blocks people? Which means if you're ever going to complain about Steve Shives blocking people, take a look at Sargon, your community, and what's more, apparently Sargon does it because he's losing. And I'm just taking his word for that. So I have to admit this video was going to be more comprehensive, but I'm not going to have the time to make it as incredibly comprehensive as I had pictured. That's just the way it's got to be if I want to get this video out there. There was numerous other things that I wanted to add to this video, but I just didn't have the time. Other points I wanted to talk about was people saying Christy Winters is obsessed with bearing, when, for example, Andy Warsky, an anti-social justice person, is completely obsessed with Francesca Ramsey, and Bering himself is obsessed with Christy Winters, according to their logic. I wanted to address the part of the video where Kraut and Tea said that
the line of thought consistently being that Bering is some horrifying evil bully who deliberately goes out of the way to pick on smaller channels run by, quote, little girls. Until I realized that the accusation is built upon thin air. Go through his channel, show me where he deliberately goes after, quote, little girls.
I can just provide a link to the video I made on the subject, rather than going through and collating a whole new collection of dog piles for you to see emanating from his channel. I've already collected a whole bunch of evidence on that. I just don't have the time to collect a whole new bunch of evidence on that, but that would be fucking easy to do, to just show more and more dog piles from Bering's channel. It's just really obvious. Also wanted to talk about how Kraut and Tea was saying how disgusting it is that people are getting in bed with social justice warriors, considering that Lacey Green is now being embraced by everybody on that side, just saying like, come to us, Lacey, please join us. We don't care if you're into social justice. Well, you're corrupting your movement, aren't you? You should be rejecting that person and saying, no, you've got the feminist cootie cancer, get the fuck away from us, Lacey Green. But you're saying, yes, because you're buying our narrative a lot more, we can use you, and you're very useful. Well, by your own logic, you are corrupting your own movement by having Lacey Green anywhere near you. And she's been involved in the kinds of things that you criticize. For example, when she went after somebody for using a picture of her in a thumbnail. But no, now you're okay with that. But instead, I'll just come to my conclusion now. The whole point of this video is for me to say, what I am saying about you, Kraut, and about your community is not fair. It's not fair of me to say, because you are surrounded by people who are pieces of shit, who do shitty things, that is all your fault, and that everybody that you know and everybody in that entire community is corrupt and fucked up. But that's your logic about social justice. You decide that everybody is collectively guilty for everything in that community. And the way that you justify saying that you're not responsible for the other people is this bullshit about you being a skeptic or being a free thinker. And that's not good enough. You should call out some of the shit that's going on in your group of people if you're gonna cast stones and if you're gonna act more pure. Otherwise you can shut the fuck up. because nobody's buying it. Now, near the end of the video, there was a part with me that you completely mischaracterized, and I'm going to talk about that quickly.
I actually even informed Tim over what I had found was done to Ozia, and his reaction apparently was to do a stream with Christy Winters and how important it is to never criticize those within their social justice community because it only serves those who oppose them.
So it's just a double bind. Like they're saying, oh, you should criticize each other more, but when you criticize each other more, we're going to misrepresent you and try to create divisions where there are none.
Well, that's the problem is I don't know what the criticism is going to be used for. Like, so if I criticize you or Michael or somebody else, I don't know what the fuck they're going to use that for. Like, what they're going to start churning out videos where they're like, oh, look, Tim is the good one. Tim is the guy who is taking it to Christy by saying this and that about her. And then I have to keep trying to correct them and say that that's not really what my criticism was about.
What I said in that snippet, I completely stand by, and you totally strawmanned. When I criticized my own group, or my own community, anti-feminist, anti-social justice people took it so out of proportion that they created an entire smear campaign out of it, attacking somebody else. What I originally said, I still stand by, but that was completely distorted and completely twisted, and that takes away my motivation to actually give feedback to the people around me about what they're doing, because I don't know what people like you, Kraut, are going to use it for. I don't know how you're going to chop this up. I don't know how you're going to completely fuck up everything I'm saying. And that does make me reticent to put out information. If we're not having an actual honest dialogue and actually listening to what other people are saying, and we're going to distort things just to destroy people, how can I be sure that what I'm saying and the criticisms that I'm making of my side are not going to be incredibly damaging to people that I know? And that's a huge disincentive to actually say anything. And it doesn't help when you make an entire video trying to destroy all of these different people who don't even know about the things that you're talking about. For example, I knew the YouTuber John Horse, and I've known Jenny McDermott and talked to her before, and Bewildered Ape and these other people, some of which did some horrible things. But most of the people you show in the video, they've never even heard of John Horse. And Sean and Jen had never even heard of Jenny McDermott. Anti-social media had never heard of any of these events either. But you continually play footage of them while you're talking about these things, and that's fucking dishonest. That is completely dishonest and unfair. And this video was just to show if I did the same thing to you, you'd crap yourself because it's so fucking unfair. And I can see a difference between people like Shoe-on-Head, Sargon, you, etc. I'm aware that someone like you hates Muslims on a personal level a lot more than someone like Shoe-on-Head, who I can actually talk to because she's not insane. And Chris Ray Gun, for all his problems, he's not a white supremacist. That's an unfair thing to say about him. I do disagree with the things that he lets pass. I do think he's a bit easy on Donald Trump, but I don't think he's like this terrible person like you. And I'm not gonna hold Shoe-on-Head and Chris Ray Gun responsible for the fact that you are such an idiot. And that you laughed at my friend being killed. And that you expect your apology to just be accepted, but I can't see you accepting any of the explanations that you're getting from people about the context of these situations. So fuck your apology. You know, if you're not going to listen to other people, fuck your apology. The moment you start growing and listening and actually being an active participant in some kind of dialogue instead of an insane ideologue is when I would want to accept that kind of an apology. And very finally, there was one thing in the video which, thinking on, was true and was accurate. And it was when you talked about Ozia.
But I have saved the putrid gem of this shit-stained crown of the social justice YouTube community for last. Do you know Ozia and Justin Templar? Ozia is an Australian YouTuber with around 2,000 subscribers who has been around for the first thing the hackers did was to send faked suicide letters to Justin Templar's family members using the hacked Gmail account. Very classy. Then a short while later, the hacked account was used to send Ozia this. A link to a Tumblr blog with the notice, every time you talk about someone, the world will find out more about you. Let's have a truce, please. A social media presence using his real personal information, pretending to be him. And the content of this impersonation account is so sleazy and disgusting, it's amazing how anyone could have ever even thought that this course of actions was ever okay. And it was there that one of these dumb fucks made a mistake, namely when using torrents, one of the violent, disgusting imbeciles organizing this tribe had registered their account under the same name they had used before, revealing that the social justice YouTuber John Horse was involved in this. Ozia, not one for backing down, made a video on this entire thing, making it all public, and John Horse decided to shut down his YouTube and Twitter. But things got even better than that. After Ozia had revealed the disgusting things John Horse had done to him and John Horse shut down his channel, the social justice community on YouTube reacted by bemoaning and complaining, not about what had been done to Ozia, but about the fact that John Horse had gone from YouTube.
John Horse, who was part of the social justice community, I think has been shown that he was running this account and extorting and blackmailing Ozia, who is an anti-feminist person, making disgusting claims about him and trying to destroy his life and defame him. I think I heard about it back then, but it's hard for me to remember because I didn't pay much attention to Ozia, and I didn't pay much attention to some of the things that were being said about John Horse. I think I saw that he made a video about it and I just somewhat dismissed it. And that was my fault. That was a flaw in me. That was partly to do with tribalism. That was my belief that, oh, if Ozia is making a video about fucked up stuff that John Horse has done, he's probably just trying to wreck him, he's probably just trying to destroy him because we're just sides trying to ruin each other all the time. We're not listening to each other. We're just trying to get one up on everybody else. So it's probably not true, it's probably just bullshit. But I think it's been shown that it was true. John Horse did those disgusting things. And I completely condemn it in every way, and also I take responsibility for not listening to Ozia. That was my fault. Garrett, who also gets blamed for this situation, I think he may not have paid enough attention to it either, and he has an explanation about it on his channel, which I'm going to link to. But I think that final point, you know, that point of self-reflection that maybe I should have listened to this person more. Just because they were on the other side, I should have looked into their claims. I think that's a valid thing to say, that our minds are very closed sometimes because we are so concerned about someone trying to get one up on us and ruin us or whatever. And in a community, all the members are not always aware of what other people in that group are doing. This is absolutely the same with the anti-social justice community. Sometimes you don't see things, sometimes you don't notice things, and sometimes due to tribalism, you ignore things and you downplay things. Have I done that before? Yes. And is Kraut doing that? Is he taking outrage at things that people have done in the social justice community while completely ignoring things that are happening in the anti-social justice community and finding reasons for them? Suddenly things are very nuanced. Suddenly there's a lot of facts and details and information that we have to take into consideration. Let's be skeptical about whether this is actually true. But when there's the slightest hint of wrongdoing on the other side, we leap into it. And we make a stupid, shitty video that just divides people further about how everybody who I don't like is guilty of everything. And you are part of the problem, you are part of the issue with online tribalism, and you need to grow the fuck up and stop being such a goddamn idiot. People would actually be able to listen to each other more and have dialogue and have conversations about the actual issues if this kind of garbage was not being produced by people like Kraut and Tea. And I think that's it. Thank you, YouTube. I'm going to be taking a bit of time off for a little bit. And I'll update my patrons on what's going on. See ya.